are delighted to know that you're still here with us on Tea or Coffee. My name is Omobolade Oladipo. I'm not doing this alone.
And my name is Ade Oyeyikwo. You are never alone. I will never leave you alone, Bolade. Never.
No.
Never ever.
Today is International Day
I know that
for
sounds
women.
like a threat now that I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm wondering, what exactly are you doing? Today is International Day for Women and Girls in Science.
Yes, it
so
is.
Don't threaten me.
Obviously not. I will never do that.
It's going to be an amazing conversation today.
Yes.
Because we are celebrating women in tech. And we're not going to be having the conversation alone because our guest is here with us in the studio. I guess to be honest.
We have Unoma Adeyemi here with us in the studio. We're actually, talking about celebrating women in technology. This guest of ours is actually a woman in technology that is worth all of the celebration.
Yes.
For today. So we're joined by Unoma Adeyemi, the co-founder and CEO of Wentors. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. We're great. Super glad for you to join us in the studio this morning.
Happy that you had me.
Yeah. It's amazing that we're celebrating women in tech, and you are a woman in tech. And
yeah.
It's just good to hear it because, we've had different women in tech come and talk about how, the industry is not highly saturated for women. Like it's a bit of a hustle getting women in it and all of that. And I like that when you joined us in the studio, we started a conversation of how did you cross industries? I want us to have that conversation because I was reading through your profile and I realized that your background is in finance. In fact, when you were growing up, you wanted to be a doctor.
Yes, actually, I did. So that's a funny conversation. But I wanted to be a doctor because my father said I should be a doctor.
Oh, okay.
The usual conversation at that time. But when it was time to do JAMB, and we're choosing subjects and everything, I just went to my father and said, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, but you've always, I said, yeah, not really. You always wanted me to be a doctor, but it's not something I want to do. So at that time, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to do medicine. So my friend said, okay, what about economics? I was like, okay, that's not bad. So I'm thinking about it. I said, yeah, let's do it. So I did my BSc in economics, and that started my career in finance. And straight out of university, I got a job in FBN Capital, which is an investment bank at the time. Sorry, now it's called FBN Quest. It's changed its name. So yeah, and that started my career in investment banking.
Okay, now, talking about the glass ceiling in tech, you know what, let's start from there. Is there a glass ceiling in tech for women?
So the whole idea of a glass ceiling is that it's not visible to most people, right? So yes, there is a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
So we're oblivious to it. That's the problem with glass ceilings. We're oblivious that it's there until we start, making the conscious effort to look at all the corners of the industry and say, okay, actually, this thing really exists. So yes, it does exist, and it doesn't just exist in technology, right? It's in every sphere of life,
even
right?
in the media space
yes,
as well, isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah.
In every sphere of life, right? But I guess why the highlight is in technology because the gender parity is still quite far apart. Like we still have like 25% of women in technology compared to 75% of men.
Wow.
So and that number has been flip-flopping. It goes up a little bit, maybe 28, then it goes back to 21, then sometimes it goes down. So if you look at the trend, it's been flip-flopping. So that's what is actually, concerning, because what's going on? We are all educated. We can give excuses for the past, right? But what's going on? That even now that everyone is aware that women are capable of, succeeding in this industry, what's the problem? So if you do a deep dive into that, you realize that what happens is women do study these disciplines, maybe not as much as men. However, the women that do graduate from STEM disciplines, only, and I'm going to shock you, only 22% of those women actually continue their careers in that discipline.
Wow.
So therein lies the problem. So we have a lot of programs, initiatives out there trying to get women to study more STEM disciplines. But the problem is that there's a leaky pipe that once they're done, they end up not doing it. Why? Because there's a glass ceiling. And that glass ceiling might be in the minds of the women. not necessarily in the industry. They just don't see themselves, you know, being in that industry. They don't see a version of who they can be in that industry. So they just, you know, fall back and pick something that they can see other women's, you know, thriving in. And that's the problem. And that's actually the reason why Winters was birthed as an organization. Because we need more women in tech, more women who have studied STEM disciplines to realize that, look, you are actually possible. That version of you in technology is possible. And we find that most women, most girls actually stay the course if they see a role model, right? A role model who's doing exactly what they hope to be. Like, you know, in the past before, in the 50s, you know, women wanted to be housewomen, housewives, because their mothers were housewives, because they've seen that vision. So if they don't visually see that, oh, I can be this person in tech, then the likelihood is that they will drop off, right? So that's what we are doing at Winters, right? We want to make sure that that woman in tech has access to role models. There are many women in tech. Still, the gender disparity numbers are still more, but there are many women in tech. I mean, this is a big world. There are many women in tech. 20% of 8 billion is still a lot of women. So, hey. So there are many women in technology, but they are not visible to the women who are aspiring to start a role like that, right? So what we do at Winters is pretty much connect that girl, that woman who is dreaming, to that woman who is succeeding, who's, you know, breaking ceiling, all of that. Have that conversation. So that girl has that vision, like, look, this version of me is possible, and this is what I need to do to get this.
But I need to ask you, why did you decide that you were going to do it? I mean, yes, I can sit and say, oh, look, there's a disparity, you know, all of these things. Different women kind of sit and say, you know what, yeah, we don't have a lot of women in tech, so, you know, whatever, we'll keep praying for them and keep hoping that they're going to get into it and all of that. But you decided to take the bull by its horn and go into it, knowing fully well that you don't have a background in it, but you realize that, okay, so this is something that
there's
women...
There's
a gap. Women are lacking this in, and then you went into it. Why?
Okay, so at the time when I switched careers, this was not my path. I didn't, you know, you never know what the future holds, but I didn't expect my journey would lead to Winters. But my journey to technology was birthed out of the idea that, look, I've always been somebody who was, you know, driven by social impact work, work that physically changes the, you know, quality of life for the people around me, right? So in finance, I was doing well. I was doing very well, making good money, actually making a lot of money. But it was to me, it was hollow, in the sense that I was, you know, helping the top 1% get richer while getting rich myself. So what happens to the rest of the 99 in this country, right? So that thinking led me to make that decision that, okay, I'm going to leave this industry. And that's why I decided to go do my MBA and switch industries to technology. And I specifically chose technology because technology literally changes the quality of people's lives, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to see what I can do to make my impact in technology, right? So having a finance background, I was like, I'm not even sure how this is going to work, but we're going to do it anyway. But because I know every industry is a business, I was like, okay, an MBA is going to get me in there some way, right? And it did. I got into Microsoft. That was my first technology job, employer rather. And it was amazing. I absolutely loved my time there. Yes, I have no regrets, as in zero regrets. So I love my time there. And, you know, in my, you know, transition from finance to technology, right, I realized that, okay, look, I would have, that's in retrospect anyway, looking back, I probably have broken more ceilings if I had a mentor. At that time, right? And so that had me thinking. So I didn't start Winters by myself. I started with my friend, who's also my colleague in Microsoft. We actually started on the same day, Microsoft. But she's a core techie, and I'm not a core techie. So we're just having a coffee one day at work, and I just realized that even though her story was different from mine, we still face the same challenges, right? And for us to face it, we knew it wasn't just us, that there were a lot of women out there, right? So when the pandemic hits, we are still both doing very well in our technology industries. Pandemic hits and everybody, you know, took a reset. That what's happening in the world? What's going on? And once again, I was at a point where I need to do some reflection. I was like, okay, so you're happy? Yes. Could you be doing more? Absolutely. How, where can you be doing more? This life is fleeting.
Yes.
It's very fleeting. So if you die today, what would you say you've done? Right? So it had us thinking. And then that's why Buentos was birthed. They were like, look, there are many women out there. And especially since the pandemic drastically moved everyone to start embracing technology, whether they like it or not, especially to keep the economy going. Yeah. We're like, yeah. We have to do more for women in technology, right? And this is why Buentos was born, and which is why we chose mentorship. As opposed to doing a regular, I don't want to call it regular, because everybody in this space, in the social impact space, especially for technology, is making an impact, right? There's skill-up programs. I'm sure you're very well aware that a number of skill-up programs, awareness programs to get people to study technology, but it goes beyond that, right? You can be the first-class student, but you get to work and you fumble. Why? Because it's not just about what you know, it's about how you interact with people. It's about how you show up. It's about your personal brand. It's about how you communicate.
You know, there's something you mentioned about your friend that is a core techie. Now, so I realized that there's so many things that we don't know about tech itself. If you ask a random person, they tell you that tech is coding and that's it, and programming and all of that. But I can call you a techie.
I am a techie.
Yeah, exactly. But I want to assume that you are not coding.
I'm not coding.
Exactly. So, you know, conversation, because I want to know who is a techie? What do you do as a techie? Is there because most times when I hear people say tech bros, tech sis, and all of that, the only thing that would come to my mind until recently, as I having conversations with people that work in tech, I realized that, you know, what we know is programming, coding, software engineers, you know, website developers, etc., etc. Is that all that there is?
No. So, in a word, no. And a techie is everyone. A techie is everyone.
Okay.
You all use technology in some way or the other, right? Especially now in this world. So you're a techie, right? So I think it's high time that we, you know, break that, I want to call it, it's not a bias.
Myth?
Let's call it a myth.
Yeah.
Let's call it a myth that, oh, look, you have to be a coder, software engineer, website developer to be a techie. Everyone is a techie. So we need to, first of all, break that bias, break that myth, and let everybody know that you have a place in it. Technology is literally is life for us now, especially now. Maybe in the 60s, not so much, but right now, it's life for everyone. And the way it is going, we already hear the talk about the metaverse. That's where we're going.
Yes.
So if you feel technology is not for you, you're going to be left out in the economy of the future, right? So it's important that everybody knows that everyone is a techie already. You just have to find your spots, right? Just need to find your spots. So there are sorts of other roles, so many roles in technology. A technology firm is going to need a lawyer.
Yes, actually, yes.
A technology firm is going to need a project manager. A technology firm is going to need an artist for UI, UX.
UI, okay. Design.
So why do you think you're not a techie? Everyone is a techie.
Interesting. Okay, so, you know, now I want to talk about the mindset. You know, before we went on a break, you said, you know, the glass ceiling, when we're talking about the glass ceiling, that it begins from the mind, right? You know, and what your organization does is probably to help curb that. So how, in your experience with dealing, you know, and trying to encourage women in technology, what exactly is the mindset, you know,
for a woman?
For a woman has, you know, within context of the glass ceiling.
In technology?
Yes, please.
First thing is, there's no place for me. There's a boys' club. It's a boys' club. I'm only seeing guys. And there's imposter syndrome that, probably I won't be able to perform like my male counterparts. But that cuts across all industries, imposter syndrome. But the major the major barrier is, number one, it's a boys' club. I'm only seeing guys doing this. Maybe I won't find a place for me, right? The next thing is, even if I do get in, how well am I going to do? Really, that's another barrier.
Because it's a guy's thing.
It's a guy's thing. Quotes.
Okay. So now, when we're in uni, we'd see a lot of guys in engineering, computer engineering, whatever engineering, civil, mechanical, and all of that. And, you know, the females that were there were not so much. And the females that were there were some form of outcast amongst other studies per se, because they were the tough ones or the ones that were very serious. In fact, you'd see that they were not playing when the other persons were playing at all of that. Do you think that also contributes to the idea? Because now you've just explained that everyone is a techie. And in my mind, I may want to get into comms for a tech organization. But then at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to be like that lady I saw in school. I really don't want to be like her and all of that. Do you think that mentality or that mindset contributes to all of this?
Absolutely. It's all a mind game. And you have to retrain your mind. Retrain your mind that, look, who says, like, is it written in stone? No, it's not. It's a mind game. So you have to start asking yourself pertinent questions like, why do I think I can't succeed? I promise you, by the time you try to answer that, you realize that all of your answers are fickle. What makes you think I can't succeed? Why can't I succeed here? What do I need to do? By the time you answer that, you realize it's not a long list. Why haven't I done it? By the time you answer it, you realize that no real reason. And that's what we're trying to break, especially for women, especially for how the world is developing, right? We need a future where women are also making decisions on what gets built, what gets coded, right? Because the whole point of technology is to, you know, make solutions to help the world better, right? But if only men are developing those solutions, and by developing, I don't necessarily mean coding. I mean every aspect of development. There's sales, there's goods, there's marketing strategy, there's legal strategy. If only men have a voice in that, whatever is put out will serve men better than it serve women. And there are 50% of the world are women. So 50% of the population will be left out in the satisfaction of that solution. I can give you a simple example. The iWatch, right? When it was being, you know, launched, it was launched as, I think the slogan was the digital health solution, the one-stop digital health solution. I can't remember, but basically the narrative was like, if you had the watch, you had all you needed with regards to how to track your health.
Yes.
But do you realize that there's no period tracker on that?
Wow.
Okay.
There is no period tracker.
Very interesting.
And it's a very important factor for women's health. It pretty much controls a lot of our hormones and a lot of things. It is not there. At least it wasn't there initially. I think we've corrected that now. So that's the point we're making, right? If women don't see themselves there, whatever solutions we continue to birth from now on will will serve men better than women.
You know, my next question was going to be, why is there an awareness? Why does there need to be awareness for women to be more involved in the tech space? But you've actually answered it.
Exactly.
That is a very interesting case study. You know, when you actually and it really shows that the word is not, is it masculinated? Like, you know, so these decisions and solutions. And so
no beef to the men. I love men. We all love men. We love you guys, but it's just your perspective is different. That's
you're
it.
Right. I'm completely
and it's what's the word? You're oblivious to it. So unless you hear our perspective, you wouldn't know. So you don't go into building these things with the intention to leave us out. You don't realize that it's part of our lives.
You know, it's important that we continue to have this conversation on inclusion and equality. Now, let's get into the conversation of equality. So, a lot of people do not understand when women talk about equality when it has to do with conversations like this, especially in tech. They feel like, oh, they've come again, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. But I realize that with this that you've just highlighted, if a woman is not given an opportunity, same opportunity as a man, to speak up in these tables where decisions are being made, then decisions are just going to be made anyways. And then you find yourself on Twitter where people are bringing you down and all of that. But now, for your company, how do you teach or mentor women in this conversation when it has to do with equality? Like, it's another thing when you teach them to see themselves in a position. It's another thing to teach them to actually break that barrier, that mindset, and push to be that person. Because I'll give you a quick example. I was having a conversation with a woman in tech, and what she just told me is, all I want to do is just code and that's it, and get my money and continue living. And then where she's working is a very good place, and she can make management position, but she's not interested. And I was like, why aren't you interested? And she said, I just don't see myself there. They won't have me anyways. And all
she
of
doesn't see herself there because she doesn't see enough women like her in leadership positions. It's that simple. It's a mind thing, right? If you can see it, you can believe it. We've all heard that. If you can see it, you believe it. You see yourself doing it, right? So she doesn't see enough women. That's why she doesn't. She's like, I'm all right where I am. She doesn't strive for more. She sees a woman who's doing. If she sees more women, so not that they're not women, they are women. If she sees more women doing amazing things in leadership position in these companies, you will strive to do that as a woman.
That's amazing.
Thank you very much for joining us on this. Before we wrap up, as we wrap up, I think it's very important that we encourage women in STEM disciplines this morning. So you can just look into your camera right there. So encourage women, women who are feeling as like imposters, in the tech world.
Okay, to every woman out there who has an inkling or a small voice in your head saying, I would love to be in technology, but I just don't know how. I'm here to tell you that version of you is possible. All you need to do is, first, believe in yourself. Map out all that you need to do to start that transition and get yourself a mentor. There are mentors out there. And it might not even be a mentor for women in tech, a regular mentor. Why I'm saying this because your path to tech might be different from mine. The beauty about mentors is what we do is we make sure that we have different mentors on different paths, right? So you will be matched to a path that works for you, right? However, if you're not able to get matched in my organization, for example, don't give up. Everyone is a techie. You're already a techie. Just believe in yourself. Map out, come up with a timeline, talk to people, comb your network, comb your Twitter network, your IG network. I promise you there are more people out there waiting to help than you think. And the world is a global village. Everyone is your brother or sister, and everyone is your ally in this journey. All you need to do is make your intentions known to the right people. Look for a mentor, and all you want to be will be birthed.
Thank you so much, Unoma.
You know, I just realized mentors is actually, mentors.
Women.
Yeah, it's actually. I just realized mentors.
I figured from the name I was
mentors. That's amazing.
It's nice.
All you're doing.
You know what? We would have to have you some other time so we can actually talk about the essence of, having mentors and understanding that and all that. We hope that when we call you again, you'd come and join us and tea.
I'll be happy to.
It'd be so nice. We just had a conversation with Unoma Adeyemi, co-founder Wenters. Now we'll take a quick break. When we are back, we'll continue the conversation at Tea or Coffee. Don't go away.